Brea and Natasha, thank you so much for your time today. We're here to talk about Lucky, which is out on Shudder tomorrow, March 4th, actually. And by the time I put this up, it will be tomorrow. So today. Who really
What
does
does
a
it
calendar
mean?
anymore? What is time anymore anyway? Do you both want to talk a little bit about the film?
Yeah, I can kick us off. Yeah, we're just super jazzed. I mean, this has been a pretty strange year for us. We were supposed to unveil the movie at South by last year, so this is just exciting for us to sort of have hit the finish line. And I mean, it's both the go line and the finish line for us. It's the start of the journey for the movie to be shared with people. So we really designed it to be a conversation starter and get people talking. So it's a movie that really needs to be seen. So yeah, we're really excited to be here.
Yeah, and if people don't know what it's about about a woman named May who is a self-help book writer, and it's getting attacked by a slasher every night in her house, and no one around her seems to think it's weird.
It's real interesting. I didn't look too much into the premise before I watched it, other than the trailer, a little bit of the synopsis, because I don't want to. I want to be surprised. I want to enjoy the film for what it is. So obviously, it was all right. Let's see what that twist is. What is this killer really? And by the end of the movie, we had gone through a journey and really gone through the experience with May, with that emotional attachment. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was great. It was a conversation starter with my girlfriend and I who watched it. She understood it a whole lot better and quicker than I did.
We get that a lot.
So great job on that. Brea, where did this story come from?
I mean, I think the themes are pretty obvious. I think it obviously is about the perpetual violence against women and dealing with that. It comes specifically from an incident that happened in my life. And I think I was in part writing it for catharsis, but also I just found that anytime I would talk about what had happened to me or anything like that, other women would be like, yeah, of course. It was just, it's not even a thing. It's expected that at some point in your life as a woman, you're going to have a scare or some guy follow you or some man threaten you or something like that, and it's just not that it's just normalized in obviously we don't think it should be, and no one thinks it should be, yet we're all giving our teenage daughters mace because we think that's the only way because we know they're going to end up in a situation where they have to protect themselves.
I thought it was real interesting the way that the characters around May normalized everything, like you said, because she's being undermined. There's so much aggression, there's oppression, there's so much going on, and as the film progresses, you can feel that building and her realizing that she's going to have to do this on her own. I thought that was done really, really well. Can you talk about balancing out maybe the themes with the actual slasher part of the film?
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I sort of think about the slasher elements is part of the DNA of the film, but it's not the point of the movie. I think is kind of what we're getting at, and it's sort of the lens through which we're telling the story of this woman's experience. But it also is such a perfect fit for it because it is a horror experience. It is a threat. It is violence. It is all of the things that a slasher or a horror movie discusses. And so it didn't feel, to me at least, coming to the project with the script already written and reading it, it felt so organic. The two elements really felt completely intertwined in a really organic way. And then for me, it was really about then just pulling on those threads that were in the script and leaning into, going all the way with some of that stuff, right? Like really amping up the music, having the mask be something kind of cool and different. And so leaning into those elements because it didn't feel like it was working in opposition to May's story. So the farther we went down the path of let's have fun with the slasher elements of this movie, the more we were revealing and unraveling about May's story. Because at the end of the day, her experience is underneath everything that happens in the movie from the beginning to the end. We're with her in this sort of like crescendo of weirdness that's following her as she's trying to solve this problem. So again, it felt very organic to me, and it felt like, okay, we can follow these roads to their, all the way, and really go extreme and expressionistic with the style. And I think that's one of the great things about horror, right? Is like horror is talking about real traumas and real vulnerabilities and real horror. So again, the two are completely intertwined in a very organic way. So it felt natural. If anything, I think the other tone was the satire was more so what we had to be really aware of, because I think now you're handling the character drama, you're handling the slasher nods, but then there's also moments that are very funny. And we really wanted to make sure that those moments felt funny and strange in their own right. So I think that was almost more what we had to reconcile with the horror comedy-ness of it was a little bit more of the balancing act, I think.
Can you guys talk a little bit about Ted's character? Because as the movie progressed, it got frustrating, and even during the first encounter, where he's like, "Oh yeah, it's a normal thing," and he belittles what she's feeling. That's kind of where the first time my eyebrow raised. I said, "Wait, what's really going on?" And then as he comes back and he's really cool about everything. You guys talk about developing that character and then on screen as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the story, and I mean, Natasha kind of said this, but it's all from May's perspective. So as the story progresses, the characters all become they're supposed to become more and more in the world where May feels more and more out of the world. They're supposed to escalate and become more bizarro and more surreal. I mean, obviously, like we get to the point where there's literally people who break into song, at one point in the movie. So like I wanted to really start in a place where we believe the world and we understand everything, and this is a relationship we can recognize, and then have one sort of weird element that just keeps going and we just push it to the sky. And so yeah, by the end he's supposed to be basically a caricature. And I think that's even what I call them in the script, that like they start like this becomes a caricature. This is like a mockery of a conversation. This is a caricature of a person. And yeah, I mean, it's funny. There was a lot of conversations about Ted early in production.
People wanted to know where he went. They're like, where did he go? We're like, it doesn't matter. He's not there. That's what's important. What's interesting though, I was actually just speaking with a man who saw the movie who said, I have said those things to people, which I thought was so interesting because, Brea and I were kind of like, this is a mockery of, the best friend listening or the husband listening, lending a listening ear. But this guy actually really related to what Ted was saying and had been in that same situation and felt like, I don't really know what to say, so I'm just going to normalize it. And I'm just going to, say some of the things that Ted says in the movie. And so I think even with one of the more ridiculous characters like Ted, there is still, it's so thinly veiled. The truth behind what this script is talking about, what the movie is talking about, is just a tiny, tiny distance away from the absurdity that we've put on screen. So, and I think that's what drew me to the project. Definitely what drew me to the script was like, okay, this is crazy and it's a satire and it's out there, but just one thin layer below is truth. And there is like a realness to Ted that, is real things that people say to each other, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's absurdity.
Someone was talking about this yesterday, but I mean, normalization, the skill of normalizing is such a wonderful and horrible human skill. Like the fact that we've all been able to normalize a pandemic for a year, and now it's like it's normal to get up and not leave your house and put on a mask and like all of these things that we've normalized. But we also do it with trauma, and we also do it with things where we're like, right, it's totally normal. You should be scared in your house. Why would you not be scared to walk down the street? You should be scared. Like gets normalized as well. So I think we're just taking that idea and kind of
it's kind of kicking the can rather than actually confronting the problem and doing something constructive about it. One of the elements I really liked was your portrayal. Obviously, Brea was, as the movie goes on, we were getting frustrated at the fact that you couldn't take out the bad guy, and you were looking more tired, weary, and then finally you found a place of strength in yourself. I know you talked a little bit earlier that this comes from a personal place of story, and you talk about acting that out in the movie, and how you got to that place every step of the way.
I mean, well, shout out to the hair and makeup department who, kept up with how big my under eye circles were supposed to be and how messy my hair was supposed to be and that kind of stuff, because I think it's shockingly helpful to an audience, but also to myself, because I'll see myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, I look exhausted, even though it's, 9 a.m, we just started or something. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I was on set quite a bit. It was, a small indie shoot, so that alone is exhausting. But for me, as far as like how to get to the character, I met with my acting coach. I tried to come at it from a very sympathetic place where I tried to understand May, even to the point where at one point someone was like, she's making such a bad decision. And I was like defensive. And I was like, no, I wrote this and I know she's making a bad decision, but like I felt for her and I never saw her making bad decisions. I felt like she was just doing the best she could. So yeah, I mean, for me as an actor, I come at it from a very like bring myself to the role place. I'm not a method actor. I'm not any of those kinds of things. So, when we call cut, I'm still like joking around and like trying to make the set like a fun, nice place. While, knowing I have stuff to pull on when the scene arises.
Can't let you ladies go without having to ask you, how did you develop the actual killer, the man going after May, and how did that mask come about? Because it's such an interesting character.
Yeah, that was super fun. I mean, designing a masked killer is just a super fun thing to do with a horror movie for sure. Shout out to Jeff Farley, who designed our mask. He's a wonderful, wonderful creature creator, prosthetics artist. We wanted to, first of all, the men in the movie, this is a bit of a spoiler, I guess, they are in proportion to the women that they are sort of an expression of, or an expression of that woman's fear. And so in some ways we couldn't have him be like this huge Michael Myers type, like big guy. We were looking at a few like MMA fighter types, and it just felt a little bit strange to us. And also there was just the logistics of like, I mean, Brea is you're not a big lady, so it's like, how is she going to fight this huge fucking hulking guy off? So we started looking at performers who were maybe a little bit just more proportionally made sense to us. And then we started playing around with the idea. For me, I pulled a lot of images of face distortion. So like sculptors who were playing with, the human face and subtle distortion. So at first, maybe you look at it, you don't even think there's anything off, but there's something uncomfortable about the image. And that was sort of where we started with the mask design. So from far away, the prompt was sort of like, well, from far away, maybe you don't even really realize that he's wearing a mask. Maybe you just think there's something like kind of strange about this guy's face. And you can still see his features. That was also a stroke that Jeff actually decided to do was, hey, I don't think we actually need to add any pigment to the mask. I think we can just let his own features sort of come through the material, which I just loved. And the performer Hunter, who plays the man, is himself an actor. So, he was able to sort of work with his body and his face in a really interesting way, and we didn't lose it. So it's sort of an amalgamation of all of those things, working through a lot of different iterations. Hunter is not like, he's like kind of posh, like he has really nice hair and he dresses nicely and it's all that kind of stuff. So for me personally, I like to be informed by like location and actors and like pull from what's already there. So once he was cast, I think we just had fun sort of like, let's just make his hair kind of swoopy and nice and dress him posh. And so it's not like a guy that's initially just frightening to you. He, there could be something, he could just be a guy walking down the financial district, late at night. And then there's something weird about his face. Then as he gets closer, you realize there's something menacing.
Ladies, thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon. I really appreciate it. And I've seen a lot of positive reviews for the film. I know that we watched it and we had a positive reaction to it. So we hope to see you again soon on the next one.
Thank you.
All right. Hopefully you guys get a little bit warmer this afternoon.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the great questions.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.